FM.
Good day, welcome to your news at noon on Kaieteur Radio. I'm Kevin Smith. Let's get to the news in detail. ExxonMobil Corporation announced yesterday that its investments next year will be in a range of $23 billion to $25 billion. The company said more than 70% of its budget will be deployed in strategic developments in the U.S. Permian Basin, Guyana, Brazil, and liquefied natural gas projects around the world. By 2027, Exxon said its investments will allow its production to grow by 500,000 oil equivalent barrels per day to 4.2 million. It said that more than 50% of the total will come from the key growth areas mentioned. For Guyana, the American oil giant will have at least 5 major projects on stream by 2027. Importantly, all of Exxon's sanctioned projects in Guyana carry a $25 to $35 break-even price range. The company is therefore expected to be gushing with profits for the next 5 years. In other news, GCOM chairperson Claudette Singh recalled feeling very stressed and overwhelmed by a series of events that plunged the holding of the March 2nd, 2020 regional and general elections into complete chaos. Justice Singh was called to witness stand on Thursday to testify the Commission of Inquiry established to look into the conduct of the returning officer for Electoral District Number 4 and other elections officers in the execution of their tabulation and declaration of vote duty under the relative sections of the Representation of the People Act, and whether any attempts were made to prevent the declaration of the true results of votes polled for Electoral District 4. The GCOM chairperson faced a series of questions as it relates to how she responded to the mayhem that followed after holding the elections. Despite her supervisory role and functions as chair of GCOM, Justice Singh said that she was most of the time not informed of the decisions taken by the officers of the Commission in relation to the outcome of the regional and general elections. The commissioners appeared to have difficulty with Justice Singh's responses. Former Justice of Appeal in the Eastern Caribbean Court, Senior Counsel Godfrey Smith, said that he found Justice Singh's decision to abandon her post at a critical juncture in the elections odd. She had told commissioners that as the events unfolded, she became seriously stressed. She said that she was feeling unwell, locked herself in a room, away from everyone, and stopped answering her phone. And moving on, noting that corruption disproportionately impacts the most vulnerable in society, the Western diplomatic community has called on the Guyana government to hold to account those who engage in fraud, bribery, and collusion with criminal elements. The envoy said that combating corruption requires more than just a robust legislative framework, and that the civil society and the private sector must also do their part to work collectively with government to eradicate corruption at all levels. Globally, corruption is a corrosive influence that undermines public faith in institutions, resulting in diminished citizen security, stunted economic growth, and a drain on public and private resources. In other news, for the next 5 years, Guyanese insurance companies will be unable to provide services to cover the massive multi-billion-dollar energy projects ESSO will soon bring on stream. Instead, a small fee will be offered to the local company that agrees to front the insurance policy, which will cover the $9 billion project offshore Guyana in the Stabroek Block, as well as the more than $1 billion gas to energy project that will land the commodity at a facility in Wales on the west bank of Demerara. Based on the request in the oil company's recent advertisement, the operators say that Exxon has already decided on the terms and conditions of the policy, which will be held and controlled overseas, and only wants a local company to look like it is the one handling the coverage. And now let's tell you that on Wednesday, APNU AFC Coalition Chief Election Scrutineer Carl Smith Joseph received a summons from SOCU. Smith Joseph received a summons from SOCU, an arm of the Ghana Police Force, some 5 days ago after she filed a lawsuit at the Demerara High Court against GCOM, the Chief Elections Officers, and the Attorney General, seeking several declarations and orders intended to nullify the preliminary list of electors and give rise to a new register of voters before local government elections are held. In a press statement, the coalition condemned SOCU's summons and highlighted that no reason was provided for Smith Joseph being summoned. When we contacted the head of SOCU, Faisal Karimbaksh, he declined to comment. The time has now moved on to 12 hours 7 in Ghana. We'll return shortly after the break.
You don't have to be a fountain of knowledge to help children with their schoolwork while they're at home. But you do have to be caring, understanding, loving, and patient. It's an unsettling time for everyone, but children still need a safe and secure environment. So don't overwhelm them with endless news items or problems. Keep them gainfully occupied and amused, exercised and rested. Protect our children. A message from the Child Care and Protection Agency, Ministry of Human Services and Social Security, and UNICEF.
Welcome back to your news at noon. A 33-year-old man was on Thursday jailed for 3 months and fined $75,000 for cursing and threatening the headmistress of Strathspey Primary School, located on the east coast of Demerara. The man, identified as Satruhan Kemraj of Calderton squatting area, appeared at the Vigilance Magistrates Court before Magistrate Fabayo Azor and was charged with 3 offenses. He was charged with abusive language, disorderly behavior, and threatening language. The court heard that Kemraj had entered the school on Wednesday and began cursing a headmistress over a misunderstanding. The men accused of carrying out the armed robbery at Kaieteur News Saffron Street, Charlestown office were on Thursday further remanded to prison until December 15th. Those on remand are 33-year-old Ryan Wharton, 35-year-old Joshua Junner, 25-year-old Ivor Belingi, 23-year-old Lemuel Grant, and 36-year-old Harry Strongster. While the lawyers contended that their clients enjoy the presumption of innocence until proven guilty and that they are entitled to a fair trial in a reasonable time, the Chief Magistrate denied bail, highlighting that in the interest of public safety during this time of year, she will not be granting bail, but noted that she will entertain another bail application on the next hearing with new contentions. And moving on, 2 persons were on Thursday jointly charged with murder committed on Samintra Saw, called Auntie Betty, and remanded to prison. The duo, 48-year-old Mohammed Ramzan Shahid and 37-year-old Roshni Bastio, both of Bushlot Village, West Coast Berbice, were not required to plead to the indictable offense when they appeared before Magistrate Peter Hugh at the Fort Wellington Magistrates Court. They were remanded to prison until December 14th. Shahid is accused of colluding with Roshni Bastio to kill 85-year-old Saw between November 27th and November 28th. He told investigators that he was contracted to kill the elderly woman but denied stabbing her. He had initially denied the involvement in Saw's murder. However, on Monday, he reportedly told investigators that he beat her with a piece of wood. And now let's tell you, British Finance Minister Jeremy Hunt is scheduled to meet with the North Sea oil and gas producers today to discuss the expansion of the windfall tax on this sector. According to Bloomberg, the meeting will include representatives from oil majors Shell, BP, and Total Energies, as well as independents like Harbour Energy and Neptune Energy Group Limited, according to people familiar with the matter who asked not to be identified. Last month, we reported when Hunt had announced the British government's plan to increase the windfall tax on oil and gas operators from the current 25%, which was announced in May, to 35%. A windfall tax is a one-off tax imposed by a government or a company, specifically targeting those that benefit from something they were not responsible for. In this instance, the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war have sent oil prices soaring and triggering a cost of living crisis in many countries. And to wrap things up, Let's tell you that the country's top three performers at the 2022 CSEC are from Anna Regina Secondary School, while the top 2022 CAPE student is from Saraswati Vidya Nikatan. Minister of Education Priya Manik Chand made this announcement on Thursday. She said that Guyana received the official results of the country's top performers, but is yet to be informed of who has topped the Caribbean at the respective examinations. She announced on Thursday that the country's top CSEC performer is Uttam Hiralal of Anna Regina Secondary School, who gained 25 grade 1s. In second place is Ramal Babulal, who gained 25 grade 1s and 2 grade 2s. And the third spot is awarded to Daniel Dowding, who gained 22 grade 1s and 3 grade 2s. With the time now moving on to 12 hours 12 in Guyana, we wrap things up with the page 7 of today's Kaieteur News, of course, dedicated to being blunt. Exxon's 10% pay raise. Exxon's fat cats give themselves a 10% raise. Guyana's cheap oil getting them fatter and fatter. How about giving Guyanese 10% royalty, Exxon? Why not agree to pay 10% taxes in new Stabroek Block projects? Do something honest for once, Exxon. Reverse the robbery, banditry, and other criminality in this country. And that brings us to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching